A thunderous roar echoed throughout Nexus Arena as the undefeatable queen, Vorhak Nella, strode onto the battle floor, her eyes burning like circulating fire. The entire stadium fell silent as she declared something only found in legends. If you lose, your entire life will belong to humankind. Applause flooded through the feet of every creature, but behind the glory of victory lay a scheme that could shake the entire galaxy. The massive doors of Nexus Arena parted with the grinding sound of ancient machinery, revealing the silhouette of a lone figure. Kai Andros stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the battle-worn sand. The Earth representative wore no ceremonial armor, carried no weapon of note, just a simple gray combat suit that hugged his lean frame. His appearance was so unremarkable that a wave of confused murmurs swept through the audience chambers. "Is this truly Earth's champion?" A multi-limbed spectator chittered to its companion. "He looks fragile." The stadium, a hollowed-out planetoid transformed into the galaxy's most prestigious combat venue, housed millions of beings from 27 civilizations. Bioluminescent lights reflected off the ceremonial armor of previous champions, creating dancing patterns across the curved ceiling. The broadcast system transmitted the event to trillions of viewers across the stars, while betting terminals flickered with astronomical sums changing hands. Vex Corin, the arena administrator, extended his 4 mechanical arms in a gesture of formal announcement. His voice, amplified by hidden speakers, reverberated through the structure. "Citizens of the Galactic Union, today marks the arrival of the newest contestant, Earth's singular representative, Alexor Kai." The audience's response was tepid at best, dismissive at worst. Humans were newcomers to the Galactic Union, barely accepted after decades of diplomatic maneuvering. Their biology was considered unimpressive, their technology derivative, their martial prowess untested. From her private observation chamber, Cassia, Nella Vorhak, watched with narrowed eyes. The warrior queen of the Vorhak species had remained undefeated for 15 years, her dark red skin bearing 23 ceremonial battle scars, each representing a worthy opponent vanquished. Her legendary status was unquestioned throughout the known galaxy. "What is Earth thinking, sending such a specimen?" she murmured, studying Kai's calm demeanor. Something about his stillness troubled her. Most warriors paced, flexed, or performed ritual movements before combat. This human simply stood, eyes scanning the environment with methodical precision. As tradition dictated, Kai would face a preliminary opponent before any championship bout. Today's challenger emerged from the opposite entrance, a towering Scaroth warrior named Rytak, 7 meters of rippling muscle and armored hide. Acidic saliva dripped from his fanged maw, sizzling where it hit the sand. The audience roared to life, credits flooding into the betting system, overwhelmingly favoring Rytak. The Scaroth bellowed, beating his chest with 4 massive fists. "I will honor your pathetic species by making your death quick, human," Rytak taunted, his translator rendering his guttural language into the common galactic tongue. Kai remained silent, only inclining his head slightly in acknowledgement. Corin's mechanical arms extended, then dropped in the universal signal to commence. "Begin." Rytak launched forward with surprising speed for his bulk, claws extended for a killing blow. The audience leaned forward, anticipating a quick and brutal conclusion. What happened next silenced the entire arena. Kai's movement was so fluid it appeared almost casual. He simply wasn't where the attack landed. With minimal motion, he had shifted inside the Scaroth's reach. His elbow struck with precision at a nerve cluster near Rytak's lower abdomen. The massive creature staggered, momentarily stunned. Instead of pressing his advantage, Kai stepped back, resuming his ready stance. The pattern repeated 3 more times, Rytak attacking with increasing fury, Kai redirecting and striking pressure points with surgical accuracy. Each time, the human declined to deliver any finishing blow. After the fourth exchange, Rytak's movements became erratic. His breathing labored. His coordination faltered. "What are you doing?" the Scaroth gasped between heavy breaths. "Waiting," Kai replied, his first word since entering the arena. Moments later, Rytak collapsed to his knees, muscles spasming from accumulated neurological disruption. The mighty Scaroth toppled forward into the sand, conscious but completely immobilized. The silence that followed was absolute. 10 seconds passed, 20. Then a single spectator, a small Zenthian philosopher in the upper tiers, began a slow clap that gradually spread throughout the arena. Corin's voice cut through the growing applause. "Victory to Earth's representative, without a single drop of blood spilled." In her chamber, Nayla stood transfixed by the monitors. "Impossible," she whispered. In 15 years of championship fights, she had never witnessed such a victory. No weapons, no killing blow, not even a serious injury inflicted. She pressed a communication panel. "Bring me everything we have on this human, now." The following day, the arena's training facilities buzzed with speculation. Kai had been assigned to the Champions Training Sector, a privilege normally reserved for those who had won multiple contests. This break from protocol further fueled the rumors circulating throughout Nexus. As Kai entered the facility, conversations halted. Eyes followed his movement as he methodically inspected the equipment, testing the density of training dummies and measuring the resistance of various mechanical opponents. "You think you're special? Human." The booming voice belonged to Thorgrim Bloodfang, an 8-meter Chronari warrior whose exoskeletal armor bristled with bony protrusions. "Your little dance routine may have worked on Rytak, but you face a true warrior now." Thorgrim demonstrated his prowess by hoisting a 50-ton weight sphere with one arm, then casually cleaving a training mannequin in half with a ceremonial blade. Watching from a small gallery, several trainers and fighters nodded appreciatively at the display of raw power. Kai merely sat cross-legged on the floor, observing. His eyes tracked the slight delay in Thorgrim's shoulder joint, the millisecond imbalance in his hip rotation, the rhythm of his attack sequences. "No response, human? Perhaps your species lacks courage as well as strength." Kai finally rose. "Would you care to spar, Bloodfang? I would be honored to learn from your technique." The Chronari's laughter rumbled through the chamber. "Learn? You'll learn only pain." Without warning, Thorgrim charged, blade whistling through the air. Spectators gasped. Sparring with weapons violated protocol, unless formally agreed upon by both parties. Yet, again, Kai's movement defied expectation. He seemed to evaporate like morning mist, reappearing inside Thorgrim's guard. A precise strike to the warrior's elbow joint caused the massive blade to dip. Another touch near the collarbone disrupted the Chronari's balance. A third contact point at the knee completed the sequence. Thorgrim staggered, blade clattering to the floor. "What? Sorcery?" "No sorcery," Kai replied calmly. "Just physics and biology." The Chronari's face twisted with rage, but also undeniable respect. He retrieved his blade, turned without another word, and stalked from the training area. Unknown to either combatant, Nella had been watching through the facility's internal data feed, her fists clenched at the display. The human fought with principles antithetical to Vorhak honor. Where was the glorious combat? The test of strength against strength? Yet, she couldn't deny the effectiveness of his methods. "This Kai, he is unlike any warrior I've encountered," she muttered to her second-in-command. "His style makes no sense. He seems to win without truly fighting." Later that day, fate arranged a meeting between the two champions. As Kai navigated the labyrinthine corridors, connecting the training facilities to the residential quarters, he turned a corner and found himself face to face with Nella. The Vorhak Queen stood nearly a head taller than him. her muscular frame adorned with ceremonial armor that gleamed under the corridor lights. Her fiery red hair was pulled back in complex warrior braids, revealing the ritual scars that traced patterns across her temples. "You stole Thorgrim's final roar," she said, her voice rich with contempt. "A true warrior would have met his blade with equal force, not these human tricks." Kai met her gaze without flinching. "I merely seek to survive. You fight to prove your status." Nella's expression shifted subtly. For the first time in decades, she felt uncertainty creep into her warrior's heart. This human, with his strange techniques and quiet confidence, represented something she had never encountered. A fighter who seemed to need neither status nor traditional weapons. "The championship bout approaches, human. Prepare yourself for a real battle, not these preliminary games." As she turned to leave, Kai spoke again. "Queen Nella, may I ask why you issued the binding challenge? Why stake your honor on a contest with an unknown quantity like myself?" Nella paused but did not turn around. "Because disruption must be contained. Your kind introduces chaos to our established order." With that cryptic statement, she continued down the corridor, leaving Kai to ponder her words. Behind the pageantry and competition, political forces were gathering. In Corrin Hall, 17 representatives from the dominant species met in closed session, placing unprecedented wagers on the upcoming championship fight. The Galactic Union itself faced growing fractures. Some factions viewed Kai as humanity's ace, others as a threat to be eliminated. Rumors circulated that Nella would employ her legendary death strike if the human failed to honor combat traditions. The atmosphere throughout Nexus grew tense as the final match approached. In his preparation chamber, Kai studied topographical maps of the arena floor, measuring sand depth and tracking how light would fall at different moments during the scheduled fight. He calculated timings: 0.2 seconds for Nella's weapon to complete its arc, 0.15 seconds for a proper footwork adjustment in the sand. Meanwhile, Nella engaged in her own pre-combat ritual. She sat in a secondary arena, tracing her 23 battle scars with a ceremonial dagger, drawing tiny beads of blood to reawaken Vorhak pride. The distant sound of the gathering crowd reached her ears, and she took deep breaths to maintain her focus. Their final interaction before the championship came unexpectedly. Nella had sought the solitude of the warrior's cleansing chamber, only to find Kai already there, methodically washing his hands in the purification basin. "Why do you carry no weapon?" she asked abruptly. Kai looked up, water dripping from his fingers. "I believe that I am the weapon." The simplicity of his answer created a moment of profound silence between them. Nella realized with uncomfortable clarity that this human's survival instinct had evolved beyond her concept of honor-bound combat, unknown to either champion. Administrator Corrin was engaged in shadowy negotiations. In a subterranean control room, he met with ambassadors from 3 Dark Alliance factions. They discussed contingencies. If Kai wins, we'll initiate the human purge protocols. If Nella prevails, we maintain Vorhak dominance. Corrin had installed infrared cameras throughout the arena to capture combat data for direct transmission to the faction lords. What began as sport had evolved into political maneuvering with galaxy-wide implications. The day of the championship arrived with unprecedented fanfare. Nexus Arena had never been so full. Every seat occupied, every viewing platform crowded. The betting system had crashed twice under the volume of wagers placed. Corrin stood at the center of the arena, his mechanical arms extended in ceremonial configuration. Witnesses of the Galactic Union, today's combat will determine the fate of nations. Spotlights converged on the eastern entrance as Nella emerged, resplendent in full battle regalia. Her Vorhak blade gleamed with energy, its edge capable of slicing through reinforced armor. The crowd erupted in adulation. Many had built their fortunes betting on her previous victories. From the western entrance came Kai, his simple gray combat suit unchanged, carrying no visible weapon. The sand shifted slightly beneath his measured steps. "Champions, approach!" Corrin commanded. They stood 3 meters apart. The contrast between them stark. Nella with her imposing presence and legendary weapon. Kai with nothing but calm readiness. "Cassia, Nella Vorhak, do you maintain your binding challenge? If victorious, the human becomes your property. If defeated, you pledge yourself to humanity's service?" "I maintain the challenge," Nella confirmed, her voice carrying to every corner of the arena. "Alexor Kai, do you accept these terms?" Kai nodded once. "I accept." "Then let combat commence." Corrin's arms dropped, and he retreated rapidly from the battle zone. Nella moved with lightning speed, her opening strike powerful enough to cleave battle armor. The crowd's roar peaked as her blade arced toward the seemingly defenseless human. Kai's evasion appeared almost casual, a precise step that positioned him exactly where the blade wasn't. The weapon whooshed past, missing his ear by millimeters. Frustration flashed across Nella's face. She transitioned from 7-ton sword formation into Fire Gate terminal strike, a sequence of devastating slashes that had ended many championships. Each attack generated a sonic boom that reverberated through the arena. Yet Kai remained untouched. After each evasion, he delivered precision strikes to nerve clusters along Nella's flank, causing momentary pain but no lasting damage. The betting odds on the display screens shifted dramatically with each exchange. The crowd's mood transformed from excitement to bewilderment. This was unlike any championship match in memory, one combatant refusing to attack conventionally, the other unable to land a decisive blow. Nella's legendary composure began to crack. "Fight me properly, human!" she snarled between strikes. "I am," Kai replied, deflecting her blade with a minimal touch to her wrist. In desperation, Nella summoned her ultimate technique, Storm Fist Hurricane, channeling the spiritual energy that had made the Vorhak feared throughout the galaxy. The arena floor trembled under the gathering power. Kai recognized the danger. As Nella unleashed the attack, he closed distance with unprecedented speed, targeting the precise nerve center controlling her weapon grip. Her fingers spasmed involuntarily, and the legendary blade fell to the sand. For the first time in her combat career, Nella felt fear ripple through her consciousness. Backing into a corner of the arena, she gathered her remaining strength for the Dance of Solitary Love, a mythical Vorhak technique passed down through generations. But Kai had anticipated this final gambit. He intercepted her lead foot, blocked her knee positioning, then delivered a precise elbow strike to her solar plexus. The accumulated neurological disruption finally overwhelmed Nella's system. She fell to her knees, a single tear, the first ever shed by the Vorhak Queen, trailing down her cheek. The silence in Nexus Arena was absolute. Not even breath seemed to disturb the air. A champion had fallen, not in glorious bloody defeat, but in quiet, technical submission. "I yield myself to humanity," Nella declared, her voice barely audible, yet carried by the acoustic design to every witness. Kai stood silently, reaching down to touch a single grain of sand, his expression contemplative. The aftermath unfolded according to ancient protocol. The binding ceremony proceeded under Corrin's direction, his voice resonating through the still shocked arena. "Nella Vorhak, having fallen in combat, by the champion's code, you are bound for life to serve the victorious warrior." Nella held her hands before her chest, tears flowing freely now. A chain of Vorhak quantum metal, symbol of servitude, was locked around her wrist. The audience exploded in a mixture of emotions: shock, exhilaration, dismay. Many betting lords dabbed at tear-stained scarves, having wagered fortunes on Nella's defeat. In the temporary quarters designated for champion and slave, Kai and Nella found themselves alone in dim lighting. He approached slowly and placed his hand gently on the chain. "I require no kneeling from you. Remove this." Nella looked up, surprise replacing despair. She accepted his offer to remove the chain, feeling a strange lightness, more liberating than any victory she had ever achieved. As night fell over Nexus, a subtle vibration caused the chamber's lights to flicker. A stealth drone descended silently, its cloaked blade aimed at Nella's throat. Kai moved instantly, disabling the machine with a precise strike to its circuit board. When the parallel doors slid open, Kai removed his gloves, revealing his deep, dark eyes. Beneath us, the Nexus Arena system has orchestrated multiple factions that want me dead. Nella stared, comprehension dawning. You're not just a fighter. I am an operative of the Earth Organization. My mission: infiltrate Nexus and gather evidence of the Union's secret plans to subjugate Earth. Deep beneath the arena's public levels, Data Core 37 housed the most sensitive strategic information, protected by robotic guards and 3 elite security teams. Kai needed to hack and transmit the secret Union data back to Earth. Nella made her decision in an instant. Using first Vorhak sword art, she carved through multiple security robots, creating a bloody path for Kai to advance. The battle erupted with ferocious intensity, plasma fire scorching the corridor walls. They encountered Corrin at a critical junction, his mechanical arms now reconfigured as weapons platforms. I never expected you to be entangled in political machinations, he sneered at Kai. Corrin leveled a plasma cannon, but Nella intercepted, her blade singing through the air. In the chaos, Kai managed to embed an energy-shackled dart into Corrin's cybernetic wrist, neutralizing his weapon systems. An Earth stealth-class vessel materialized at an emergency exit port. Kai and Nella fought their way through, plasma bolts consuming the battle zone behind them. In the ship's cockpit, Kai transmitted the Union's strategic data to Earth. Beside him, Nella gazed silently at the star lines stretching across the view screen, the galaxy's vastness reflected in the window. They exchanged a look, a connection forged through combat, blood, and now something approaching love. Nella placed her hand gently on Kai's shoulder. From now on, I fight not just for Vorhak, but for myself and humanity. The ship plunged into a spatial distortion jump gate, carrying with it the promise of 2 opposed hearts, to fight together for a dawn that would unite all species. 3 months later, at Earth's military colony, Ares Prime, Kai led a training session for newly recruited interspecies defense forces. Beside him stood Nella, demonstrating Vorhak combat techniques adapted for human physiology. The green hills of the training grounds contrasted with the gleaming command towers in the distance. Remember, Nella instructed a group of wide-eyed cadets, honor isn't measured by how much blood you spill, but by how much life you preserve. Kai observed with quiet pride. The woman who had once been the most feared warrior in the galaxy was now its most passionate teacher of restraint. That evening, as twin moons rose over the colony, they stood together on an observation platform. The Union Council has sent another delegation, Kai mentioned. They're offering amnesty if you return to Vorhak leadership. Nella smiled, the expression still somewhat new on her battle-scarred face. My place is here now. The old ways must evolve if we're to survive as a galaxy. She reached for his hand, a warrior's grip that had softened without losing its strength. Besides, I made a binding oath. My life belongs to humanity now. No, Kai corrected gently. Your life belongs to you. That was always the point. Far above, a shooting star traced a path across the night sky, like a blade cutting through darkness, leaving light in its wake. Nella's voice was barely a whisper. Perhaps that is the greatest victory of all. A thunderous boom interrupted their moment. Not an attack, but the arrival of another Earth vessel carrying diplomatic representatives. The news had spread throughout the galaxy. A new alliance was forming, one based on mutual respect rather than dominance. The warrior queen and the weaponless champion stood together, watching as the future approached, a future they had fought for, bled for, and now would build together. Behind them, the training grounds lay quiet, weapons secured in their racks. Tomorrow would bring more lessons, more challenges, more growth. But tonight belonged to two souls who had discovered something profound in the most unlikely of places. A combat arena where they had both lost and won everything that mattered. A distant transmission arrived from Nexus Arena. The facility was being repurposed as an interspecies cultural exchange center. Corin had been removed from administration, replaced by a council representing 27 civilizations, including humanity. "It seems your victory extended far beyond our match," Nella observed. Kai shook his head. "Our victory. I couldn't have succeeded alone." The final stars appeared in the darkening sky, each one representing a world where the story of the human and the warrior queen was now being told. How combat had led to understanding, how enemies had become allies, and how the future of an entire galaxy had pivoted on a single grain of sand, touched by a man who believed that true strength lay in restraint. "Tomorrow," Kai said, "we begin planning the joint Earth-Vorhack Defense Initiative." Nella nodded, her warrior's heart now beating to a different rhythm, one of protection rather than conquest. "Tomorrow," she agreed. But tonight was for the stars, the silence, and the simple truth they had discovered together, that across the vast distances of space, across the boundaries of species and culture, some connections transcended all understanding, becoming legends that would echo through the ages long after both their names had faded from memory. The once unbreakable queen had been broken, only to become something far stronger in the reforging. And the human who fought without weapons had found the greatest weapon of all, the power to change hearts rather than end lives. As they turned to go inside, Nella paused for one last look at the stars. "Do you think they'll remember us correctly? The stories never get it right." Kai smiled. "Does it matter? We know the truth." "And what is the truth, human?" she asked, using the old term with new affection. "That sometimes," he said, taking her hand again, "the greatest victories are won without a single drop of blood." A notification chimed from the command center, another world requesting to join their growing alliance. The work would never end, but neither would their determination. Together, they walked back toward the light, leaving the darkness behind, two warriors who had found a better way to fight. In the great tapestry of galactic history, theirs was but a single thread, yet it was a thread that changed the pattern of everything that followed, weaving a new future from the ancient traditions of combat and honor. And somewhere in the void between stars, the echo of their story continued to spread, touching worlds they would never see and lives they would never know. A ripple effect that began with a single match in Nexus Arena and expanded to encompass the fate of species yet unborn. The universe in all its vastness took notice, and it was forever changed. A thunderous roar echoed throughout Nexus Arena as the undefeatable queen, Vorhack Nella, strode onto the battle floor, her eyes burning like circulating fire. The entire stadium fell silent as she declared something only found in legends. "If you lose, your entire life will belong to humankind." Applause flooded through the feet of every creature, but behind the glory of victory lay a scheme that could shake the entire galaxy. The greatest victories, as Kai had said, are won without bloodshed. But sometimes, the most important battles are fought not in arenas, but in hearts and minds, where the stakes are not life and death, but understanding and compassion. This was the lesson of Nexus Arena. This was the legacy of the unbreakable queen who learned to bend without breaking. This was the gift of the weaponless warrior who showed the galaxy that true strength comes not from domination, but from connection. And as new generations looked to the stars, they remembered not the combat, but the peace that followed. A peace forged in the unlikely crucible of an arena built for war, yet transformed by two beings who dared to imagine something more. The end was only the beginning.